Hi, I'm Trent Stephen Findless Jr., and I'm here to tell all you pilots about a great new service. Take a listen to my friend, Pete.
My name's Pete, and I'm a long-distance haulier. I drive a Puma, shipping farm machinery from Leasty to Saweo. I love my family and I don't mind being a hard-working blue-collar dad, but I'm tired of seeing my family grow old in front of my eyes. Every time I make the run there and back, I lose 15 days in hyperspace. My family is starting to notice that they're getting older and I'm not. My wife had a baby last week, did a week of shifts, and now my kid's got teeth. I wish there was some way my family could get old at the same speed as me.
There is, Pete.
How?
By buying into my new service, Findless Cryogenics. We aim to put the freeze on the premature aging of your family. The process is simple.
Our unique family centres allow you to drop off your loved ones on the way to work. Simply hire the number of cryogenic pods you need and keep your family asleep while you fly among the stars. We ensure synchronicity with your flight patterns so they spend the same time awake that you spend in the cockpit.
And when you get home, bingo! Your family is the same age as you. Never lose family time in hyperspace again. We guarantee that you'll never miss another birthday, anniversary, or funeral.
Wow, Trent, that sounds great. Where do I sign?
Simply put your credit card details into our special webpage under the hashtag WeFreezeYourLove. We'll take care of the amounts, no need to worry about that.
It's so simple. I can't wait to keep my family in a secure block of ice. It's a weight off my mind.
Findless Cryogenics, now at your local spaceport.
Findless Cryogenics, because the family that grows old together goes cold together.
The Lave Radio Project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the third chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 341 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that surrounds it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix to Fire, otherwise known as Colin Ford. I'm the Chief Archivist on Lave Station, and joining me in the Ori Sidewinder Bar for this episode, we have our Head of Health and Safety, Commander Ed Levice, otherwise known as Ben Moss Woodward.
It's working. It seems to be working anyway.
Oh, you've jinxed it now. We have our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
And we have our Staff Liaison Officer, Commander Psychit.
Hello.
Hello. Right. If you wish, you can join us live. We are hanging out in game, I guess, Ben, around Lave Station?
Yep, I am indeed in Lave Station at the moment.
Cool.
Just an in Lave Station in open.
Excellent. If you can't get to us in game, you can also join the Twitch chat channel or the YouTube channel or the Facebook channel. You can actually access through laveradio.com/live, click on the live chat, or just go straight to twitch.tv/Lave Radio or Lave Radio on YouTube. So we'll just quickly go around everybody, see how they're feeling. unfortunately, one of us doesn't feel very well at the moment. Commander Psychic, you a bit poorly?
A little bit ill, yeah. Just a smidge. Just a smidge. I've had a lot happen in the last couple of weeks, and I think everything has finally got on top of me, metaphorically, before any of you weird people, Ben, make any sort of references. But everything's. I've taken.
I wasn't even snickering. Not even a little bit.
I've taken all of this tension that's gone straight into my back, and all of like the shit that usually goes wrong with me has gone wrong with me.
So we've got a bit of a broken psychic this week.
Yeah, we're fine. It's fine.
So when you say you're just a smidge not well, is that really just a smidge, or is it a Black Knight from Monty Python just a smidge?
Is it just a flesh
We'll
wound?
buff out. It always buffs out. It's fine.
Commander Shan, how have you been this week?
Extremely crazily busy, really. Let me see. Monday, Mrs. Shan's new car arrived, so been having to learn that. What else being? It's the youngest Mini Shan's birthday today, so happy birthday to him. He won't be listening, but hey. And what else has been going on? In game, just basically finishing up a few things ready for launch in a couple of weeks' time, really.
Yeah, I know the feeling for that. Ben, how's your week been?
My week's been awesome, actually. I found out yesterday that I can actually, go home and hug my kids and wife. That's always nice.
As opposed to going to someone else's home and hugging someone else's kids.
No, because that would also be very naughty and go against government guidelines on no entering other people's households, etc.
I thought you just couldn't do it at random. You could just turn up and just hug someone at random.
Isn't that called prostitution and technically illegal in this country?
Only if you get paid for it.
Do people give out hugs for free?
Well, I
suppose
don't.
You did get free. I remember back in student days, you did see people sort of with free hugs or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, this is obviously a university I didn't go to. Never saw anybody with a free
Welcome
hug.
to Edinburgh, Colin.
Yes, so was that same sex free hugs, or did you go and seek?
It didn't really seem. It didn't seem to matter. If somebody had something saying free hugs, free hugs.
God, yeah, that'd be a license for a knee in the groin if you went there, and quite right so if you tried to hug someone else without their permission.
Yeah, but they're wearing a sign saying free hugs. It was something that was done for charity or stuff like that.
So you're hug prostitution then?
Well, hug prostitution for charity. It's a difference.
Right, well, I see we've got up to our usual start. Nice and classy, as always. Right, let's see. I've been busy with the CG, busy at work, and I've been a little bit busy with the old... The Top Shift 126 came out, which was my personal thoughts on the last alpha. And if anybody is interested, there is a new sanctimonious story called Dredger on the forums where the crew had caught up with what's happened with the Hephaestus.
That sounds like a 1980s cop series, doesn't it?
You know what? Every time I say it, I keep on thinking of the Fast Show. Because it's all Boutros Ghali.
How's that got to do with Dredger? I mean, Dredger would be the alcoholic cop who skirts on issue being sacked from the law, but then ends up getting the person in the end. That's who Dredger is.
All right, so you've now suddenly turned this into some kind of 70s cop show.
Well, yeah, but so Dredger, and he'd have a Ford Escort, and he'd jump over the bonnet of his Ford Escort, and then chase after the bad guys, like Bodie and Doyle used to.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah. So let's see. That was bizarre. what have what development news have we had happening this week? Well, first off, we had a Polygon article done by Charlie Hall, where he was describing his experiences in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. The entire article is listed. It's taken him 7 years, but Elite Odyssey has finally made him feel small. I don't know about anybody else, but every time I look at the galaxy map, I feel small. But
You are here, Colin.
yeah, ooh, total perspective vortex moment. Don't even go there. Actually, Bruce, community manager Bruce, he was trying to. He's obviously not listened or read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because he was there thinking, I don't understand why I feel so scared when I look at the galaxy map, and then you have to explain to him what the total perspective vortex was, and he finally got it and thought it was
Kids
a bit
these
weird.
days.
Yes, kids, they just don't know quality science fiction when they see it or hear it.
So he doesn't know where his towel is.
No, he doesn't know
He
about
doesn't.
towels.
He doesn't even know how about to need his towel.
And he certainly will panic.
Yeah. Actually, talking about towels, though, do you guys notice on the ISS in one of their webcasts, they were doing things with their towel, shall we say? And there was definitely a couple of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy references that they were subtly making.
Go on, Sean.
I used to enjoy wet towels in the changing rooms because you can like swirl them around and like.
You're trying to get back onto prostitution again, aren't you, Shan? Moving on.
No, not at all. Just the towels. You got, and you could like get first years with them.
Well, I've just had a brilliant idea. Hold on. No, not that.
Uh-oh.
Can I?
Can
I can! I can do that! And Shan can't talk!
What, you're able to mute people?
I can move Shan into the audience! And he can't. We can do that!
Wow.
That's not nice. But then again,
Ben,
hasn't
put the
somebody
Shan
moved?
down.
Yeah, put the Ben back. Come on, who's mucking about?
He was banning
Yeah.
himself earlier. It was quite good, quite funny to watch.
Anyway,
I've been
enough.
invited to speak. Now, we do apologise for this, that we are now using Discord on our stage. This means that everybody's having fun, banning people, kicking people, and, the usual Lave Radio level of professionalism. Yes. I always wanted them to have a hitchhiker's towel as a special item that you could pick up from Beetlejuice. But unfortunately, there's no stations from Beetlejuice, so yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice if we could get something like that.
So would it be rare good?
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. You need a rare good.
Yeah, rare good of towels should be needed.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd be in favour of that.
So, has anybody actually read the article we suddenly tangented away from?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh? And what did you guys think?
I enjoyed it. It was good. It was just a lovely little retrospective by a journalist who actually and obviously plays the game.
Yes.
As opposed to certain other people who report on video games and play them for 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I was thinking the same as Ben about it. Really, it came across as very enthusiastic, and it was a good article if you weren't aware of the game, as to the size, the scale, and all things like that. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it. Really, I mean, even though it sort of read a little bit like an in-flight magazine version of a review, but it was still competent. I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. On the subject of journalism, if people jump over to the Massively Overpowered website, we have Chris Neal there. He's been doing articles called Stick and Rudder about his impressions on Elite Dangerous. They're also very good for a read, and he does the Yeah, the massively overpowered streams that they do. He normally does Star Citizen ones and anything spacey. That's what he does. So I'd advise giving him a good read as well. So as we're shouting out proper journalists, I suppose.
It's always nice when you see an example of proper journalism, isn't it, Colin?
Well, yes. On Thursday, we had conflict zones with Dav Stott. So him and Arthur and Bruce were all online. And basically, we had a bit of an interview and then a lot of insights with Dav Stott, who is actually head of online services across the whole of Frontier, but ED, Elite Dangerous, is his home game, as he likes to call it. Just to summarize here, he said that when he explained what his team does, he says, we should never notice when they're there, and they try very hard not to fail and try very hard for it not to matter when it does fail, which if anybody has been involved in trying to keep services running 24/7, you know that's a bit of a fun time.
Anyone who's in DevOps and things like that, you're never appreciated, but it's always noticed when you're gone.
Yes. Apparently the server team has 3 teams. It has a build team, a release team, and a QA team. So that's good to know. Bakeout. Did someone explain to me what the Bakeout is?
This was my live take on what Dav was saying, and I was hoping that somebody could give me some clarification on it. But my understanding of what Dav was saying was a Bakeout was basically it sounded to me like that, all the planetary bases and things like that we've got in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And all the places like Dav Hopes and everything like that. I always thought they were 100% procedurally generated.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds to me like it's not at least fully procedurally generated. It sounded to me like all these things come out of a list of possible sites that the game procedurally figures out this could be a pretty place to put a thing.
Right. Okay. And
then they basically go, give me all your computing power, and then it sounds like the server team goes through that placing stuff. Now, I could have that wrong, and if anyone in the stream or anyone listening could correct my take on it, I would appreciate that, because that's a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah,
but you guys all heard the stream too. I'm assuming
it kind of got a. It's like the Stella Forge suggested some places that might be a good place for a settlement. A hand-coded settlement, and then they actually check it out to make sure that it is, and then they plonk it there.
That's what it sounds to me, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it does sound like it. Okay. What else did he talk about? Oh yes. At the moment, there are 208 million systems which have been visited by commanders. That sounds a hell of a lot, doesn't it?
No, not really.
Well,
I know the percentage of it.
Yeah. Individually, 208 million systems visited. That's absolutely fantastic. However, that is still 0.052% of the galaxy. We're not even
going up.
I know it's going up.
It's going up. It's going in the right direction. Maybe one day we might hit 0.1%. I love it.
So, how many copies and players have there been in total in the game? Do we have an idea of that?
What?
Well, I was wondering if let's say there are 10 million commanders in the game.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then every commander will have. You can see where I'm going with the map, can't you?
All right. How long would it take 10 million of us to actually map the entire galaxy?
Well, also the average number of systems per player.
Not that many, I would have thought. The vast majority keep to the bubble, don't they?
Oh, God,
I'm
yeah.
afraid we don't have the data.
Yeah,
Dav
we don't
does.
have. Yeah, and they ain't sharing.
No, they definitely will not be sharing that kind of stuff, will they?
Nope.
They did. They did share the fact that there was a phenomenal 8 million free versions on Epic.
Something massive like that, and I
It
bet
was something
you
massive like that.
7.5 million of them have never even logged in.
Yeah,
Um,
which brought the actual player total to about 12 million base copies of the game. So
Yeah, and I mean, I know I don't have the ability to see this, but I heard that on the Xbox and I guess on the PlayStation, there are achievements that you get for doing certain things, and I thought one of those achievements was you get an achievement for buying a new spaceship.
Yeah.
And that's something that you'd have thought, hey, everyone's going to get that. And apparently, even that number was fairly low, actually. But I don't have, I'm not on I don't even have access to see it on a PC or on a console. Sorry, and if somebody can confirm that and find out how many people have done that, that's another awesome thing that our console players could let me know, because I'd be interested to know that kind of figures.
Being a slight tangent, is that something you'd want to see for the PC version achievements?
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing them on Steam. There's no reason why they shouldn't be on Steam. I wouldn't have thought. I love that kind of stuff. So that wouldn't be. I don't miss it, or I don't feel like I'm missing out by not having it. But I would still like to see it.
Yeah, I'd want weird achievements or different achievements to be recorded. Like, for example, you take a statuette of David Braben all the way to Beagle Point and then drop it, or something like that, something different, not just, oh, you brought another ship, or oh, you killed a player, or anything like that, just sort of slightly off the wall ones. I think that'd be quite fun to do.
I know on the Xbox there's quite a few off the wall ones, and unfortunately I can't check my achievements at the moment, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, Happy Moon Monkey, is saying there's badges on Nara, which are sort of the same thing, assuming you're sharing everything with Nara.
Badges or badgers?
Possibly badges too.
Oh, so it was badges, right? Got you. we couldn't work out which.
Well, it could have been either, really.
Yeah.
Transported 100 tons of badges without detection.
Would that be space badges or wild badges or what kind of badges?
Honey badges.
Honey badges. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy. Anyway, right. Moving on from the badger situation, we will see what... oh, yeah, there's stuff about the network relay server, which I thought was quite interesting. It was saying that the majority of the time, most of the interaction happens peer-to-peer, which we already know. But there are times when the peer-to-peer network fails, and that means it goes through the network relay server. That sounds like a typical client-server thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Colin. Sorry, I thought you were being rhetorical there.
No. I was asking that. It sounds like they do have a client server architecture. It's just it's not as fast as using the peer to peer.
Yeah, for 90% of communication between, let's say myself and Miggles were here. If she shoots at me, I see Miggles's PC tells me I'm shooting at you, Ben. And I tell Miggles' PC, no, you're not. I'm shooting at you, mate.
I'm being correct. Like I'm being corrected by Mac Winston. Apparently, it's actually an internet standard, otherwise known as a turn server.
Yes.
But yeah, so there you go. That's me being educated on network architecture, which I don't normally have to worry about. So let's have a look at what has been. Oh yes, we had Super Cruise news today, didn't we, with Zach
did.
and Sally? There was quite a lot of still screenshots, usual Lego.
I liked them showing off people's stations, and I thought it was quite nice that, as well as going for the stellar screenshots, they're also asking people to tweet them or get in touch with them with commander creations for as a wider catch-all for, hey, here's a Cobra I printed on my 3D printer, or here's a Lego Cobra, or here's a poem I made.
You made a poem?
Here is my haiku. Piss off, Shan. No, I didn't. Go fuck yourself. Moving on.
What? You thought I was going to ask you to recite
Yes.
your poem?
Fuck off. Move.
Next week, then.
No.
Ben is reciting a poem.
Shan, shut up. Move on.
I had to write a limerick for my my thing that we discussed last week.
Go on, then. What was the limerick, Colin? Can you say it?
Right. Hang on a second. I'll have to look it up in there.
This is Poetry Corner, listeners.
Someone challenged to put the entire 3,000 word document into a haiku. I said, we couldn't do it. Anyway, we'll move on from that just for the moment. I will find it and we will talk about it later. Meanwhile, in the in-game events that have been happening around the galaxy, as soon as I call up Galnet News, first of all, we have that President Hudson's initiative has increased federal surveillance. Hudson won the community goal last week, which means that the Federation is becoming more towards a police state, according to some, or more secure, according to others. However, due to all the so-called evidence that ACT seem to have, the Federation, or part of the Federation, have decided that Imperator Hadrian Augustus Duval must be guilty, so they've started a war. And they've gone and attacked him in Dyson City, which has caused a little bit of a fracas, which is... I'm taking part in that CG. Anybody else taking part in that CG?
Nope, sorry.
Okay, fair enough. Guess I'm the only one doing that then. There was also an analysis of the Voice of Salvation, basically explaining that you've got until I think the 21st of May to hand in any logs that you got from visiting the space dredger. So the 21st of May, after that, payments will not be available. The Alliance has now decided that they are going to go ahead and have their elections. This will happen on the 27th of May, as it was postponed from the Galactic Summit. It does seem that it's either going to be Prime Minister Edmund Mahon, as usual, or Councillor Cato Kane, who's been very critical of the present Prime Minister's expansionist policies. So we will find out. I don't think any commanders get any votes on this. This is purely an Alliance Assembly matter. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. And finally, there have been warnings that this war that is happening in the Par-Issa system, as the Federation do attack Hadrian Duval, could actually spill out into a wider conflict. If the Imperial Herald has said Hadrian might be the black sheep of the Duval family, but should he die by Federation hands, honor would demand retribution. Already the Imperial Navy is mobilizing in anticipation of the Emperor's reaction. So yeah, that's a nice little bit of plot to be going on with. Right.
Chris Mark IV has just reproduced your limerick, Colin.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Why did you have to do that? I was hoping to drop it, but of course he wouldn't. Okay, the limerick I put in was There was once a Lave Radio host who loved this space game the most, but the game wasn't perfect, so he tried to reflect on what improvements would get players engrossed. So, there you go. See, not even a round of applause.
Yay,
That's
well
all right.
done.
Yay! Woo!
Yeah, go show it to your mum. Go draw the
Not go back to
crayon
that,
and go and.
I will hang that on the fridge.
Would you like an
doesn't-
achievement for it?
Doesn't count once, so you have to ask for it. We know.
I think you should go in your fridge, Colin. I think you should. I think you should draw like a picture of your commander, like a stick man. So like a little stick man with a
A
face.
little
on the
stick
top.
man with a little badly drawn cobra with that right next to it and scrawled in very bad crayon. Yes, thank you.
By Colin, age 5 3/4.
Yeah, and the real sad things that would be 45 years ago. Oh.
45. We can go with 45 3/4 if you want.
The secret diary of Colin Ford, age 45 3/4. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I think I was still presenting the show at that time.
I think you were too, Colin.
This same show. So today's
This-
show, you've still been presenting it for that long.
It just feels like that to the listeners.
Ouch! Just ouch! This is talking. What is this? Colin kicking day? No, I don't think so.
I'm kicking
Right.
all of us for that statement.
Let's just run to that time of the week, shall we?
Shall we? You might need to prompt Norman.
I think we might need a store alert, Norman.
Store alert!
In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a store alert. Which one will you buy?
Okay. And if you have actually seen this, the Beluga liner has now got aquatic paint jobs, which they look very familiar, don't they?
Nemo!
Yes. If you like your clownfish,
We have Nemo.
Don't we already have that on another ship? Don't we already have it on the Dolphin or something?
Yeah,
like
we
that?
did. We had, yeah.
yeah. The thing was, I do like David Braben commented on that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I thought I was being really clever by saying it, but no, I was not. Braven already got in there.
Usually, I'm quite rude about the paint skins and store at time, but I quite like these ones. They're fun. They don't take themselves seriously, and they're blatantly Nemo copies. And I just think they're not pretentious, and they're just funny. I haven't bought any, but I think they're just funny.
I like them. I ain't gonna buy them, but I like them.
We just have to point out to FTM_Cloud Atlas that he needs new hearing aids because it is paint jobs for your ARCs. ARX, not ARSE, as he has been pointing out.
You sure?
Yes. Commander DJ Trax, he's American. He doesn't use the word ARSE. So.
The computer wrote a haiku for you, Colin, by the way.
The what?
The computer wrote a haiku for you.
The computer did?
Yes.
No. You will not read a haiku. Piss off, Shan. Move on.
What is this about haikus? In Scotland, that's the cow that's further up the mountain than you.
Up where the haggis lives.
Okay, that
Yes.
one got me. I like that.
Oh dear, sorry, dad joke. Right. If you don't mind, we will take an advert break and we will come back with some main discussion points after the ad break.
I spend so much time in my Imperial Trader, I find it really hard to meet people.
I mean, when do you get the time to go to bars when you're taking on courier jobs for the military?
But with VenusDating.com, it was so simple. I just put in my personal details and they found me my perfect match.
I really thought it would be difficult, but Venus Dating made it so simple. With so much in common.
We both like movies, walking along the beach at sunset.
Browsing Imperial shipyards.
And of course, since we started dating, we've discovered that we both really love shooting Thargoids. Let your voyage begin with VenusDating.com for every first encounter.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, we will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of Supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Are you struggling with paying fines? Do you lose sleep in hyperspace worrying about docking at the next space station? If the answer is yes, then you need to call Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services.
I got scanned while in Federation space and was caught carrying slaves. It was an unexpected expense that I couldn't afford on top of my fines for damage caused whilst docking.
We can help you consolidate all your existing fines into a single large fine, payable in regular instalments at what is almost a competitive interest rate.
I called Cowell & McGrath Fine Management Services, and they helped me pay my existing fines before I got a bounty on my head. They really saved my life.
At Cowell & McGrath, we've helped thousands of pilots whose fines had spiralled out of control.
I dared not go near a police star system. Got so desperate that I'd almost resigned myself to a life of piracy. Luckily, I found Cowell & McGrath's services before I actually murdered anyone in cold blood.
No fines too big, no criminal record too damning. We're here to help you, no questions asked. Find us in the Lave business directory.
I'd got into debt as a result of a massive counter lawsuit by Watt and Prittney. It happened because I'd taken advice on Python protection insurance from... Wait a minute! It was you!
Cowell & McGrath. Minimum liability, zero accountability. Warning, balances may go up as well as down. Missed payments may lead to repossession of your ship, seizure of cargo, or the issuing of a death warrant.
And welcome back. Now, one of the things that we want to discuss this week is, well, as you know, with Odyssey coming in 2 weeks, things are in a kind of a bit of a lull, a little bit of a, how should we put it, a little bit of a, well, it's kind of going in a holding pattern, wouldn't you say?
It's like it's 11 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve, and you're waiting for Santa to come, and nothing's going on. You know, there's no more good TV. Everyone's all waiting to go. So you're just waiting for Christmas to come, and that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Speaking personally, in my family, if it's 11 o'clock at night on Christmas Eve, the kids better be in bed. Because they ain't opening anything at midnight.
So, as we have this lull, we would just want to actually what effect, or discuss what effect this game has had on you. Because one of the reasons that this is triggered is that there was an article written about our friend Baz from Special Effect, who, if you know how he has been doing over the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, he's had a rough time of it. He doesn't, but thankfully he does seem to be on the mend. And he has thanked effectively the Elite Dangerous community for helping him through this a lot of dark times that he'd been going through. So I thought we just ask, isn't it good to get over some of these things from time to time?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I was just reading what Ben was putting. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to introduce?
Go for it, Shan.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because my first exposure to the Universe of Elite was back in 1984 when I went to see. They're not a cousin, but they're a friend of the family, so they're called a cousin. But anyway, went to see them, and they had an Acorn Electron, and I went to see what they were doing in their bedroom, what they were playing on, and I saw this this game with the spinning wireframe Cobra and things, and I was completely blown away by it and completely enthralled by it because there on screen in my imagination was a real space game. It was really space. That Cobra was there. And I then spent the rest of the evening so-called helping him. Actually, he was trying to give me something to do, but basically my playtime involved noting down trade prices from Reed Quap to DSO, I think it was. Anyway, so Elite gripped me from that time, and I couldn't, it was like I had all the games on the Spectrum, I had the Saber Wolf and all stuff like that, but it didn't have Elite. And then, of course, Elite came out in the Spectrum, and I was into it so much, my mum had to confiscate the lens lock just so I could concentrate on doing my O-levels. So if there's a game I could call my game, i.e. a game that was so embedded in my childhood and grabbed my imagination, it was Elite. I mean, I played loads of other games. To be fair, even Guild Wars doesn't have that same place in my memory as Elite 84 did. So, yeah, it did. I mean, it heavily influenced all the stuff I wrote. I mean, when I programmed and stuff, I used to try and make a triangle spin on screen because that was a Mamba shape, and in the early Microsoft Paint, I would be the only thing I could draw was a Cobra Mark III or a Mamba or a Viper because they don't need curves and stuff like that, and curves in Microsoft Paint were a bit beyond me. So yeah, it was just to say influence my childhood is an understatement. And then of course later on I found Elite Dangerous and that, and then of course there was the it's been part of some really memorable gaming moments. I mean, I'm sure people have heard me say it before, but I once played for 32 hours straight to get my Elite Combat rank back in 2015, I think it was. But I did that with a really good friend of mine. He didn't play the game. He just stayed on TeamSpeak with me all 32 hours, just chatting and keeping me company. And what makes it special is a few years ago, he was unfortunately killed in a motorcycle accident. So yeah, it's loads of really special memories for me.
Okay. Moving on from that little bit of heaviness. Psychic. I mean, this game, obviously, you've been streaming for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we we don't actually. You've probably covered this in your own podcast and on your
Probably.
streams.
It's
Yeah.
fun though.
How did you actually get into it? Because we kind of get the feeling that you're not as old and crusty as the lot of us who started in '84.
That's very sweet. No, I wasn't born in '84, so that would have been problematic for me. The reason I got into Elite was that my best friend and my husband were playing, and I was sick and tired of being this third wheel who was like, I can't play Elite. I don't know what's going on. It looks really complicated, and I think Kremen bought it for me. I believe it was on sale on Steam, like it always is, and he bought it me, and I was like, and he was like, just give it a little play, Claire. You won't like it. you probably won't like it, but that's fine. At least you've given it a go.
Yeah. So basically, they sort of said, "Oh, well, here you go."
Yeah, it was like, there you go, love. Stop complaining. Yeah, stop complaining that you want to play our games and come and play. You want us to play your game and come and play our game instead. And it's been really special. It's been really special to me, just in general. I've been talking to like lots of different people. In a really happy position where I'm happy to talk to lots of different people about how they feel about Elite Dangerous. And it's been so instrumental in helping out so many different people in so many different ways, that it really it really needs to take credit for being such a wonderful game. I mean, the rest is history. And yes, everybody talks about the community and that nonsense, because the community is fantastic, and we're never going to stop talking about how wonderful the community is. But it's Elite has changed my life, and that is an understatement.
Well, that is a good. That is a very positive thing to take from just a computer. Is it just the fact that it provides a way to escape
A little bit.
situations?
I think there's definitely that element of I really like flying a spaceship. I really, really like flying a spaceship, and there's always been in my life growing up, there's always been, like, not necessarily a fascination with space, but anything that involves a game which might have a little bit of a space leaning, or involves a spaceship in some way, or has these beautiful vistas like Elite Dangerous has. It's always sort of interested me, and I used to make little. I'm such a nerd. I built a model of a Thunderbird 1. I built when I was very, very little. When I was like 6 or 7, I built this little model of Thunderbird 1. It wasn't very good, and then me and my dad made a building of. Oh, it was one of those pre-built kits where you could build, I think it was Challenger or something, that you could like put all of the little parts together. And literally,
an Airfix kit.
I think so. I think it might have been something like that. We're talking like very early 90s.
So old. Making me feel so old.
But we did all of that, and since then, and then like we bought a telescope and all of these. As I was growing up, when my other half and I, when we got married, one of the first things that we bought together was a telescope to look at the stars and stuff. So it's always been there on my peripheral, but I never considered that I would like love Elite as much as I do, and oh my god, it has completely consumed my life, and it's wonderful.
Well, just want to say, Psychic, don't worry a thing about making a Thunderbird. I'm assuming a model Thunderbird. Back probably around about the same time period, I made a self-designed equivalent of Thunderbird 2, complete with the little vehicles that come in and out of it.
Oh, the Thunderbird 2, Thunderbird 4 fantasy. I was
Yeah.
obsessed with Thunderbirds when I was a child.
I love Thunderbird 4. That's so good. So yeah, you're not the only one who's done something like that.
I always prefer Thunderbird 3 because that's the one that went into space.
True.
But yeah.
Thunderbird
Right.
one was the rocket one, wasn't it?
Well, they're all rockets, but
Well, basically, it looked like a English electric lightning with a nose cone.
Yes,
I don't know
that
what
would
an
be a good
electric
one,
lightning
yeah.
it looks like, but yeah. Thunderbird 1 was always... It sort of reminds me of like a manned cruise missile, I guess. Because it doesn't go into space, it just goes very, very fast. And then 3,
Yeah.
as you said, Colin, goes into space, and then Thunderbird 2 somehow flies really fast in atmosphere and can drop things off.
Yeah, it was really cool. I'm back. Hi.
I would have made Lego elite ships, but you couldn't get the bits to make the right angles at the time.
You couldn't do the 45-degree angles, could you? Because the space Lego at the time was like a 2-to-1 kind of thing, wasn't it?
Spaceship.
Yeah.
Spaceship. Oh, I love Benny, and I do not understand why Lego didn't do a resurgence of space Lego after the Lego movie. I don't get that.
They've done a space shuttle. I can't remember. I think it's Discovery with the thingy in it. Is that recent?
Yeah, they've done all these beautiful things like Discovery, like the Saturn. I think there's even an ISS.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, you had space
Back in
Lego.
the 1970s, yes.
Yeah, you had space Lego, and it did actually make it in as an expansion to Lego Worlds. I love that.
Sorry, one of the good things about Lego Movie was Benny has a little crack in his helmet at the bottom. Did your Lego Spaceman have a little crack where Benny had his thing?
Exactly. Yes. We're going back 40 years, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here to talk about modern day spaceships, not toys from.
Well,
40 years ago.
I did try and make a Lego Starship, but it kept breaking when I tried to put it down.
Tish.
Anyway, Ben, I mean,
Yes.
obviously this game has been going for you for decades, so
Yeah. So
do you want to share with the group?
Like Shan, I guess, my first introduction to Elite was on the BBC just after my parents divorced. And I spent countless hours, basically, playing Elite and then listening to a self-made mix, which included the Final Countdown by Europe.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. And I would just, I would deliberately time leaving the ship to go with the Final Countdown. Whenever that came on, I just, I had to sync everything up so that we launched just the right time. And yeah, like Shan was saying, it really just helped me escape and avoid a lot of the real life situations maybe that were going on around me, and gave me a venting mechanism.
Yes, a way to escape school.
A way to escape school, escape life. Just escape all the teenage angst that we were going through, and now we've got the real life angst that we are going through, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It has been. Well, I've just to ask everybody. I mean, have you found Elite Dangerous to be a bit of a lifesaver during the lockdown?
Not so much Elite Dangerous, but a variety of online worlds and communities.
Mm-hmm.
But not, Classic Elite for me. Back then I didn't have a lot of games like I had access that I could just immerse myself into. It was basically play this guy, hit somebody over the head until you run out of lives, or you dive into Elite. Whereas there are a lot more virtual environments where we can lose ourselves. And I think lose ourselves is possibly the correct wording for it as well, actually. But if you can't do something, it doesn't matter because you can go off and be a miner in space. You might have crippling debts, but you in game you're a billionaire. And I guess that could actually be a good thing and a bad thing, really, can't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a two-edged sword sometimes. Shan, you got something for?
Well, I was going to ask Psychic, did she ever build Tracy Island? And
No, nope, never did.
And what the question about lockdown is probably, although I think to be fair, the community, not just this one, but the community in all the other games I play, have actually helped through lockdown because it's the people and they know you, and you don't really need to meet to have a chat and chew the cud and whatever it is. So I don't think Elite specifically for me has helped in lockdown, but certainly the community, being on Discord with you guys, some of the stuff in the forum and all the other stuff that goes on, I think has. And actually, I learned the other day that a guild member of mine from the G game was actually one of the developers of the AstraZeneca vaccine. So that's a way in which gaming sort of directly affected me, I guess. But yeah, it's just the whole community aspect, and that's why I think with Odyssey, I've been trying to push the softer issue, being able to chat to other players, being able to do other stuff other than chat, having more than one room, because all that stuff helps build a community, and it's community that is the longevity of a game, not the actual missions and mechanics and stuff like that in it.
Yeah, Psychic?
For me, in answer to your question about how it's been with via lockdown, for me, it's been more of a case of just being able to sit in a Discord call with folks. Because sometimes I have like a good few friends who live on their own, and it's been probably, I would say, arguably worse for them, especially in some of the much harder times where and some of them are high risk and all of that kind of thing. Being able to be there and sit in a Discord call with them and just we don't even have to be playing a game, or we don't even have to be talking. Just knowing that there is someone there that you can just sort of reach out to and speak to, who isn't an immediate family member or who is just a mate. Just being able to sit in that call with friends and just know that they're there if you want to just chat shit for one moment, and then it goes back to silence again. It's been really, really nice. It's been a really nice thing to be able to have. And yeah, Elite has played a part in that because we all play Elite, but we play other games as well. But it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, I've found this game. It's quite ironic, really, when going back to the old days. Let's see. In the old days, I did always like these kind of 3D shooter games from all the way from the original Star Raiders and the old Atari. Now I'm really showing my age. To games like Star Trek and Codename Matt, which in the old days were the closest you got to proper dogfight, 3D dogfighters and things like that. And then Elite comes along on the Spectrum in '85, I think it was. And it just kind of that game, which I just discovered Traveller about the same time. Because those two games were pretty, they felt similar. It just seemed to open up a whole avenue of creativity that I didn't expect to have. and I think it's directly responsible for the career path that I'm on at the moment. Shan.
When you were just talking about the games of your long, there's a few games I'd played before Elite. I mean, one of the ones I used to love doing, and it cost me 10p a time, was the Star Wars arcade game, which was vector graphics. Do you remember that?
Oh God, yeah.
And
Yes.
it's interesting, sort of looking back on it, because my imagination then was so not reliant on the graphics to make something seem real. And I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking of going forward now, maybe we've in some ways been spoiled by the quality of the graphics and stuff. Is the graphics now so good they're replacing the imagination, and maybe replacing the imagination mean they don't have the same nostalgia generation as what we used to. But yeah, it's an interesting one looking back on where he came from. Do you remember a game for the Spectre called Starion by Melbourne House? And
Yeah, I
that
remember
came
that one.
that I bought that because it looked like Elite, and then it wasn't, and it was rubbish, and I played it for about an hour.
Yeah. There was a lot of games that tried to replicate what Elite had, and until Chris Roberts came along with Privateer, I don't think there was anything that came even close. I think there was something called the Federation of Free Traders, which was an absolute Elite ripoff. And then not long after that, David Braben brought out Frontier, which kind of blew that away. But yeah, I mean, I know what you mean about the Star Wars arcade game, because when I was playing that arcade game, yes, the graphics represented the space battle, but in your mind, you were in a proper X-wing, especially in the sit-down cabinet.
And what showing our age now, of course, but I think when people look back on the history of computer gaming, Elite quite rightly has its place in the Hall of Fame. But I think it's somewhat underappreciated because everyone thinks, oh, Mario and Zelda and whatnot. But I think in terms of influence, not just in graphical style, but I think Elite was very influential in modern computer games.
Well, yeah, I mean the original the Grand Theft Auto guys have said basically they wanted to do Elite but in a city, where you could do anything you wanted to, and that was the idea. And it certainly worked for them.
Yeah. I had read that. I hadn't appreciated what they were getting at. I mean, but now I don't know if it's. I think I would like Grand Theft Auto in Elite. Actually, I think it would be tremendous fun.
Basically, you want to go around carjacking or space jacking other people's ships again, don't you?
Well, not just that. It's just one of the great things about Grand Theft Auto is it is the best game I've ever played for mucking about and generally griefing and mucking about and killing your friends and all that sort of. Because no one cares, because there's no inconvenience and there's no cost to it. And that's what I really like about it, is that it's possible to go around, put sticky bombs on someone's car, and then just blow it up when they run off. Would love that sort of thing in Elite.
Yeah, but you see, the one difference is that Elite is basically an online game where if you do put sticky bombs on someone else's ship, that's a new form of griefing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's only griefing because they've actually lost something. If you blow someone's car up in Grand Theft Auto, the cost is so trivial, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, as the decades unravelled, I mean, obviously, Frontier and First Encounters came along. Ben and Shan, did you get into those games at all?
No, I missed Frontier First Encounters because at the time I didn't have a machine I could play it on. and I will, a little bit later on when First Encounters came along, I was sort of more into university and doing that kind of thing rather than playing video games all the time.
Yeah.
Versus most of the time.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, First Encounters, Frontier Elite 2 was the first game that I ever stayed up all night and played when I first got it. And FFE, a little bit less so because it was a bit buggy, but yeah, just that kind of draw. I mean, I was thinking back when Ben was talking. I think I have reached Elite combat rank in every version of Elite I've ever played, and I've played most of them, apart from the Nintendo one. So that just shows how much of an enduring impact it's made. Is I want to spend the time doing it.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. I mean, I guess I'm going to have to go through the list. Let's see. Done the BBC, done the Spectrum. I got to Elite on the Spectrum. That's the only other one I got to Elite on. Commodore 64, Amiga, PC, and I think that is about it for the original Elite. I've always wanted to play Archimedes Elite, but never been able to, because obviously Archimedes were like blooming gold dust back then. Did anybody actually get a chance to play that version?
No, I didn't know. I was really being disappointed at the Atari ST and Amiga versions of Elite because you just basically fired green bogeys at the ship.
Yeah, and depending on what your lasers were, was how much faster your green bogey was.
Yeah, and the way to kill all the ships was basically it was fly maximum speed and shoot them with a rear gun when they're a dot.
Oh, I never did that. I went in for a full dogfight because otherwise it would be too boring.
I didn't care.
Anything to get to Elite. Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I had problems with the flight model in Frontier and in First Encounters, because basically because it didn't have lateral thrusters, it felt really weird to fly. I mean, when you go on to other games like Independence War, where they've got a full Newtonian physics model, and you can do lateral thrust and things like that, it kind of felt more like a 3D world. Well, I don't know, they felt like there was something missing from the flight model of those two games. I guess this is just my opinion. I mean, what do you guys thought of those two?
Colin, you fail to remember that you appear to be the only person who played iWar.
I forgot. Yes.
I was just Colin. Did you ever do the Phobos mining laser trick?
No, I didn't. What was explain the Phobos mining laser trick?
Well, what you could do is if you equipped your ship with a mining laser, you could shoot the moon of Phobos, and if you time sped it up, it would count as a kill. So basically, you could just sit there with a mining laser shooting at Phobos, and you'd get Elite within a couple hours.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I do have to point out that Mac Winston's quite right that JJFE, which was John Jordan's patch that came along to both Frontier and First Encounters, that actually gave you the full 3D experience. But I didn't get hold of any of that kind of stuff until I think about a year before Elite Dangerous was announced on the Kickstarter. So fair play to all those that got hold of it. Oh no, we do have two people have played iWar games. We've got The Wintermute and Bitstorm. They've played the iWar games. I'm not the only one, so yeah.
Did you ever play Battle Cruiser 3000 then?
Are you daft? No. Did you?
No.
Yeah, I think speaking of games you're the only person of, there was a game that I was trying to get set up for RetroLave, but just as RetroLave was dying.
Yeah.
There was a game called Station Terminus, which was done by the guys who eventually turned out and wound up making a little-known game called Skylanders. That's it. So they turned into the studio who did that.
Oh, right.
But they made a very good full Newtonian physics game called Station Terminus, and I seem to be the only person who I know who's ever even played it or even heard of it. But it was a very good game for its day. Just set in the Sol system. But again, like classic Elite, it was released in the very late 90s, I think. And I put an awful lot of hours into that in my maybe just after I left university. Or just as I was sort of finishing up university or something like that kind of time period.
Yeah, we have to point out to Little Bigian that Battlecruiser 3000 did exist. And
I don't believe you.
And I hate to say it, let's just say the flame war from the game creator, a certain Derek Smart, was far more entertaining than the game ever was. You might see this. I have to be very careful. If you say his name 3 times, he turns up in the forum. But he's a very harsh critic of Star Citizen, which is yeah.
I have a 2-part question for us all.
Oh, okay.
And it will bring us back on track, I promise. What do you think are made Elite so special to us? What was it? The graphics? Was it the story behind it? What was it that sucked you in with Elite? And my other question is, do you think it still got that capability to suck you in the same way?
Oh, who'd like to take that one?
I'll go.
Go on.
For me, and this is going to seem like a really obvious answer, it was being able to play with my best mate in a game that he loved, and he'd had that whole experience of growing up through the game, and then also to be able to play the 3 of us together. It didn't happen very often. Like we would, like me and Kremen would play more FPSs than Little Bigian would, and then the fact that the 3 of us managed to play something together was really special and remains really special for me. Do I think that it still has that edge? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do, because I have people in my squadron who have been playing for like 4 or 5 months and are pulled in and sucked into this beautiful space. Absolutely, I do. 100%. I think it still has it. I think Odyssey will bring in some, not all. I think Odyssey will bring in a first-person crowd. Who some will stay for the rest of it. Some will stay for the things that are beautiful about this game, and some will see a really big, be able to like move into a really different, diverse space. And I think others will gradually get bored with what Frontier has to offer them with the first-person aspect. But yeah, absolutely, I do.
Excellent. Ben, have you got an opinion on these?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, are we talking about Classic Elite or Elite Dangerous or just in general?
Yes.
So that's
nice and helpful.
Yeah, the escapism part, for me at least, is getting into my cockpit and just flying away. And that hasn't changed since 2014.
Yes.
we still have that 6 years on, and we will still have that with Odyssey. And but equally, I get that in other games too these days. That's the difference for me between young Ben and current Ben. I've got alternatives now, and like Psychit mentioned, you can also escape and be together apart, to use a phrase, just by jumping onto a Discord server or a TeamSpeak server or Ventrilo, and just hang out. And you don't even have to say a word, but you know that other people are there. And knowing that somebody is there listening to you breathe without it getting creepy.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Is actually... That's very reassuring, I guess. And just, somebody knows and cares about you enough just to be there and not even say anything, but they're just there.
Right.
And that's awesome.
Excellent. Let's see. What about any elite that... Oh, Shan, do you want to quickly...
Well, no, just in Ben's last sentence, the theme song from Cheers sprang to mind.
Dear. Except you can't buy a beer in the bar. Yet.
True.
Yeah. Right, let's see. What was about any elite that's like you? Well, obviously, it was the fact that you could forget about things and you, for sort of an hour, maybe a half an hour, you were a pilot in a spaceship, and it made you feel as if you were a pilot in the spaceship. And obviously, when Elite Dangerous comes along, not only you're a pilot in the spaceship, you're a pilot in a spaceship in a galaxy, and the galaxy is full of people that are also in their own spaceship that you can talk to if you choose to. That itself was was basically mind-blowing, especially for someone who was just used to the game, the Elite Dangerous experience being a solitary experience. Then all of a sudden, when you've got other people in sharing the galaxy, then it blows it up to a huge... It blows it up a huge proportion. And has it still got it? Yes. I mean, I'm still playing. It is feeling like, it's an alternative that I can drop into for a while when I need to. Psychic.
Question for everybody that I've stolen, quite literally. What is it that keeps you logging back in?
Ooh, Shan.
Sorry, what was the
question? What keeps you logging back in, apart from the ability to be insanely cool to people?
Now I think it's the potential to try and find that wonder I may have missed somewhere. Because we look back and we think, our first hyperdiction, our first combat with the Thargoids, our first exploring the combat, the Thargoid base and all that sort of stuff. You actually made your jaw drop and go, wow. And what keeps you logging back in? It's probably the thought that somewhere there's something else that no one's seen or done yet. And the Lave Radio friendly answer is, I'm on this show every week, and if I didn't log in, I'd have nothing to say.
Ben, what is it that keeps you coming back every time?
It's the glory of flying a spaceship, frankly, And I can be as happy pootering around Lave or a bar or an installation as I am running missions, as I am collecting cargo, doing CG, doing mining.
Mm-hmm.
I can have as much fun doing what I'm doing just now, basically, and just flying circles. Because who cares? I'm in a motherfucking spaceship.
So basically, you can have as much fun playing with yourself as you can with other people.
Ah, dear, had to go there, didn't it?
Of course it did.
Yeah, it did. Let's have a think. What does keep me coming back? It is. I have to agree with Ben. It's the flight model, and the fact that I feel like I'm in a spaceship. I am flying a spaceship. I am for that hour or so. I get a chance to. When I get a chance to, I'm not sat at a desk. I feel like I'm actually in my spaceship, and it takes you away for that hour, which can be in some cases just a lifesaver.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Psychic?
Oh God. I've answered this question so many times and heard so many different answers to it, so it's really tricky to pin one thing down. But it's flying a spaceship, man. It's flying a spaceship and doing stuff for my squadron. Doing stuff for my squadron.
Yeah.
As well, like oh, we're at war. Oh, I can do stuff and I can see it have an effect in game. That kind of thing. Being a bit of a BGS nerd. But yeah, it's flying a spaceship, man. I'm never going to get to do that. I'm scared of getting on a bloody plane. I'm flying a spaceship.
Shan, do you want to take the final point on this one then?
Well, I was just about to ask the question is how many of you have actually played it in VR? And I was making a statement that for me, seeing it in an early Oculus, not the CV1, the one that came before that anyway, it just completely blew my mind seeing this game I'd been playing since 1984 realized in VR, and it was just like jaw-dropping, absolutely staggering.
Yeah. Ben, what was your reaction the first time you tried it in VR?
I've only ever had the chance to try it in VR as opposed to actually live it in VR, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only ever been at cons for 5-10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Not I'm in my room locked up in a VR helmet. And yeah, I've already described, I just got so immersed, I leant on the back of my chair and fell through the floor. That was my experience, and it was awesome.
It was an awesome experience falling to the floor.
Oh, the rest of the room who was watching me found that very, very funny. Which is fine, because I found it very funny too.
Always remind me the first time I saw everybody starting to play Robot Recall. That was hilarious. Psyche, have you ever tried it in VR?
I've tried it with a funny little mock-up using my phone and a Samsung Gear and that kind of really shitty
the Oculus Rift.
No, not even that.
Not even the Rift. Wow.
Not even that. No, like a little, like you shove your phone, like Google Cardboard, kind of like that. That kind of level. And you can get an app for your phone and for your TV and for your computer, which does the thing. It's not very good quality, but that was my first time of getting any sort of sense of scale with Elite.
Yeah, I must admit I know about those very well. I tested them quite extensively to try and find an alternative to shelling out to
buying a proper Rift.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've got the Rift now, thanks to a donation by a certain commander. But yeah, I think the first time I tried VR was the DK1 at the first Fantasticon, and basically, if anyone remembers Commander Vigo, he helped set that up for me, and I just sat there, and then for about 2 or 3 minutes afterwards. We finished sort of this half-hour play session. I just sat there, just blown away, and he just looked at us and went, "Yep, everyone's like that when they come out for the first time." And yeah, it's so. Shan, you got one final point.
Yeah, I was about to say we talked quite a bit about the actual effect of the game, the VR and stuff like that, but I don't think I'd be playing Elite now, or certainly not on this show. So tough if you don't want me on here. Tough is basically the community and people I've met, and particularly what really set it off for me was my first LaveCon. When I was at, I was quite shy and unassuming when I went to LaveCon. I only went for the day because I didn't know what it was going to be like, and this guy called JMC Neil, who unfortunately has passed now, managed to get talking to me and broke my shyness, so to speak. And from then, I thought, well, okay, I'll be back by lunchtime. It's only an hour away. It's not too far. And I ended up staying till 2 a.m. And it's just basically the people I've met and interacted with, as well as the game. And so, yeah, that's my overwhelming memory of Elite Dangerous, and it's the people that I've met and talked to.
Okay, Ben. I mean, obviously, this does feel like a bit of a loaded question. I mean, the community.
Ben, what?
Okay. We'll skip this one. I mean, you've got a final question you'd like to ask.
Okay, yeah. I was just wondering actually that a bunch of us said the whole reason why we keep playing Elite, why we keep coming back into it, is because flying a spaceship. So I guess a two-part question would be: would you ever say, how SpaceX are doing the flight up for a couple of days and then come back down to Earth? If you had the opportunity to go on that, would you? And then the other question was, if there was an Elite version of, like The Last Starfighter, say, and somebody in a Cobra shows up at the bottom of your street saying, "Get in, you're our only hope," would you?
Well, that's an interesting one. Hang on a second. We better just check this. Psychic, do you know what The Last Starfighter is?
Oh, that's a good point.
It's an old movie.
I am frantically Googling right now. Come to me last.
Sean, do you remember what The Last Starfighter was?
What to do?
Well, you could take that one then. I mean, would you first of all go on the SpaceX trip if you had the opportunity?
I'd go on there. To be fair, if it was going to go to the moon, or even it's just going to go up, I would go now. I wouldn't care whether it could land or not. To be honest,
just one-way trip. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you'd just be remembered for the worst. But anyway, yeah, I would absolutely. I would go on it. Will I do this Last Starfighter thing? Yeah, why not?
Fair enough. Well, let's see. The SpaceX thing. I would love to, but I am a bit of a coward when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm scared of roller coasters these days for obvious reasons. What would happen if someone in a Cobra Mark III landed in my door and said, "Right, get in. We need your help."
Help us, Commander. Afford your only hope.
I would say, God, the galaxy must be completely screwed if you're coming at me.
The Starboys that need killing.
Would it depend on who the messenger was? Because if it was a Princess Leia style figure or a Barbarella style figure, would that make it more attractive to go?
It's a weird disembodied voice like Hal.
Yeah.
You mean like the flight navigator? No. I think I probably would, but I don't know if
for a more modern version, let's say you were in a Guardians of the Galaxy situation, but smaller and not pirates.
Yeah, what's the name? Gamora. If Gamora turns up and says, "Come on, Colin, you're with me now," would you go?
I am not saying a word of this, just in case this is played back in court. Anyway, Psyche, have you managed to find out what the Last Starfighter is yet?
Yeah, yes, I have. And I, you had me at Flight of the Navigator. I'm not gonna lie. I love that movie so much. No, I wouldn't do SpaceX. Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm so scared of flying. I'm like Katie will attest to how scared of flying I am. The last time we shared a flight together, we got off and she said, I'm very, 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 you should be very grateful that I didn't kill you because you were so scared. Anytime there was the tiniest bit of turbulence, I would grab her. And she was like, she was trying to sleep and she hated it. Anyway.
Well, so it's not really flying you're scared of; it's unplanned landing.
I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of crashing. I don't know if that's a weird thing.
I think that's a fairly normal idea.
But if like the flight of the navigator turned up and when we need you to do some flying. We're really sophisticated spacecraft. I'd be like, heck yeah. Also, I can be really confident to say heck yeah because I know that is something that will never happen.
The more you know.
So Ben, the question to you then, the same thing. If Wilma Deering turned up in the ship, would you go Wilma Deering?
I would go even if it were what was
John
the name?
Barrymore.
Even if it was I was gonna say Tweaky, but okay.
Right. Anyway, I think on those fantasy notes, I think we'll have to leave this discussion here and move on to the community corner, which a load of things have been happening in the last week or so. The first thing to note is the Dark Wheel are ready to expand out of 9 puppies. They want to get to greater than 75% system influence, and let's see when. What's this next part of the LFT 509 testing yields? So good luck to the Dark Wheel. They're making reasonable progress, I do believe.
LFT 509 is tangibly their final goal. Although I'm seeing some people saying, if we can't get to LFT 509, maybe we could get up to Polaris.
Now there is something because Polaris is still that's still permit locked, and it was integral to the last plot, wasn't it?
Yep.
In Frontier First Encounters. Right. Well, Commanders Orange, Phoenix, Exorcist, and Admiral Flaps have created the Pilot's Lounge, which is a community hub, for want of a better term, with the ethos that all commanders are welcome and the hope to inspire community spirit, conversation, and collaboration. So that's a new Discord, which you can find at discord.io/pilots_lounge. Now, also related.
Do you want me to make you a coffee column?
Yes, I think I need one.
Okay.
Now, also in relation to Commander Orange Phoenix, let's see, Commander Beetlejude and a lot of streamers, which are Pixie Wifey, Reeler Admiral Flaps again, Dream Squasher 1, WK Jez, Captain Matesi. I do apologise if I got that one right. Maltmeister77 and Biker Flame. They are wanting to help out Commander Orange Phoenix because he's helped the community so much with his work with the SPVFA and Sagittarius Eye. However, he's got access to let's just say a subpar machine, which will probably not be able to run Odyssey. So they'd like to run let's see a couple of community fundraisers so that he can afford a decent machine to play Odyssey when it comes out, and on top of that, if there is any money left over from once the target is reached, then that will be donated to Health in Mind Scotland. The streams will start on Saturday the 15th of May at 1700 hours UTC and run for 24 hours, with each streamer doing a 3 to 4 hour show, and there will be giveaways and fun events on each stream for everybody to get involved. So that's helpful for Orange Phoenix. Also, now, Psychic, you can explain about this. You are the Flight Assist team are doing a week-long charity event as well.
Yes, we are. It's from the 22nd. The 22nd is going to be a live recording of the finale of season 2 of our podcast, and the launch of merchandise that I haven't finished the design of yet. But all of the proceeds for that will go to Click Sergeant. And then for the following week after, ending on the Friday with a big 12-hour stream with lots of giveaways, is going to be constantly raising money for Click Sergeant, as one of our listeners, one of our community members, well loved around the community, Colico Jack, tweeted out the other day that he wanted to do lots of fundraising for cancer charities, because these cancer charities had really helped his son out while his son was going through chemotherapy, and he tweeted that he wasn't going to be able to do these fundraising streams because his son had unfortunately been told that he only had 6 months left to live. So because fuck cancer, the least that we can do is do what we can to raise money for a really wonderful cause. Click Sergeant helps out a lot of people, young people in the UK, who and their families who are suffering through cancer, with grants, with all expensive paid accommodation while the child is going through chemo, and then also, should the most devastating thing happen, they help them through that as well, amongst a shit ton of other things. But we are doing what we can. Last week of May, hoping to raise a hell of a lot of money for a very beautiful cause.
Have you got a link for that site? We can put it in.
If you go to flightassistpodcast.com, it's on Flight Assist Podcast, flightassistpodcast.com. I am actively checking now. We have
the links in the show notes as well. So if people want to look it up on Lave Radio, we'll have a link over to Flight Assist Podcast. So that should help out.
I hope so.
Yes. In other news, Primetime Casual has hosted the big quiz of everything Elite Dangerous, of which Part 1 and Part 2 are available on his YouTube channel. He is celebrating the release of Elite Dangerous Odyssey with a big Elite Dangerous quiz featuring guests Ascorbius, some Edelweiss person, Wotherspoon, and Greatest, and they're covering everything from history content and player-driven events to ludicrous records, which have been achieved by various commanders. So yes, we will again put links in the show notes for people who'd like to see. Ben, you're winning at the moment, aren't you?
Don't ask me how the hell that happened.
It's hashtag spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I went into this thinking, okay, I'll do it for a giggle, and I'm gonna suck so hard at this. It's just, but whatever. I'm going up against Wotherspoon, for God's sake. And
I fully expect you to to lose at the last moment.
You're probably right. He's probably rearranged the questions like this just so that it's like, yeah, Ben's up there, and all of a sudden Ascorbius comes up and gains 50 bazillion points
or something like that.
But yes. being serious, he's done a brilliant job of editing the four or five video conversations that were probably each over an hour long, with us all mucking around, into what seems a fairly consistent quiz, actually. So yeah, I want to give my full hats off to Primetime Casual for making something that's really quite entertaining to watch. And I've got no idea what's going to happen next.
Oh, that's good to hear. Now, if you have been watching the live stream from Frontier earlier, you've probably already seen this, but the Burpit have gone and done basically a fantastic video called Touchdown. Let's take this Odyssey. It's a cinematic with music created by Tom Cook and vocals by Helly, who you will be familiar with if you'd seen the video Let's Jump Together. And I do believe we can play the video here.
Hear the sounds, watch them fly to the hills. We are free for the first time. Let's start this odyssey. Brave steps in front of me.
Okay, well, obviously we've been having technical difficulties with the video at the moment, so we will try and sort some things out for the edit, but we do apologise for that. So, does anybody have any other business they just quite quickly want to bring up before I close things out for the evening?
8 days till Odyssey.
How
True.
is it only 8 days to Odyssey? That's madness.
Well,
Insane,
9 days.
Oh,
9
right.
days. I wouldn't count on being able to do
Yeah,
that.
don't play it on the
Right.
Wednesday. Don't do it. It's not worth it.
I'll be fine. I think by this time Wednesday we'll be playing it. I have faith in them.
Well, someone will be playing it. Just maybe not everyone.
It might just be Dav and Co. Arthur's going to be like, it works for me, guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, was anybody actually jealous when you saw Dav and them actually still playing the alpha?
Yes.
It's like, what are you doing, you cheeky shits? Why are you doing this to us?
Exactly.
But they have to work. Alpha. They can't just sit and play the alpha and then
So much bait.
they're probably looking at it thinking, "Oh crap, that doesn't work. Oh crap, I've got to fix that. Oh no, I've got to do this." So they're not really playing the alpha. They're generating a to-do list.
Could be a bit of both.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to thank. We've had quite a few comments on the YouTube channel, so we'd like to thank Snowstalker36, Joe Sa, and also Commander Mask Me ECC for all leaving such nice comments on YouTube. We're a little shocked because I thought YouTube comments were supposed to be abrasive.
See, I think this is proof of the multiverse theory.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for watching YouTube, fellas. Do give us a like and subscribe on YouTube if you like us.
Oh, you had to get that in, didn't you? You couldn't mention YouTube without saying like and subscribe.
Everyone's got it.
And
It's,
don't forget to
hit
ring that bell icon.
Ah, dear. Oh, you've got to do it, haven't you? It's a YouTube classic. Ah, dear. Right. Enough of the cliches. So we'll give some shout outs to everybody around the community. So first of all, our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio. It broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30 GMT. You can tune in at twitch.tv/Hutton Orbital Truckers, or if you just want the audio, go to radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander that likes a bit of CQC action, check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. We'll give shout outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts. They are Loose Screws, Elite Week, Flight Assist, Elite Cast for the Spanish speakers out there, the Canon Podcast, the Fatherhood Podcast, Squeaky Fuel, System Chat, Guard Frequency, and Allagrab AB. Yes, Ben, what's up?
So I'm just going to give a special shout out to Commanders Mephisto, Mac Winston, Chris Mark IV for some weird reason, and the Brimstone, who have joined us whilst we've been trialing out Discord's on-air stage thing. And they've heard all the stuff behind the scenes too. The poor so-and-sos.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. It was not worth it.
It was definitely not worth it.
Well, we think it wasn't worth it, so I don't know what they think. Thank you guys for that.
Are we giving out backstage passes next week?
I don't think we're giving them out, but maybe people can join us. I don't know.
For those of you who want a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy books, please subscribe to the Data Slate podcast, which is created by Station Commander Alan Stroud. Following this, we have the latest Galnet News Digest that's provided by Commander Wotherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. And we'd like to thank all those who have chipped in the Twitch chat. And who's buzzed the Ben today?
Absolutely nobody. I've been in open and I've just been flying with myself.
So Ben remains unbuzzed. So you've only got
Come
yourself.
on, community. Kill him, please.
So, also special thanks to Commander Tokuso who created the music for the introduction of the show. And that is it. Oh, hang on. Is this another alert? Go on, Chris. You got it. Oh, Chris got a shout out. Dear. Anyway, that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio.com, hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio, tweet us at Lave Radio, or you can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We have a TeamSpeak server where commanders like to hang out and chat, which you can find at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Yeah, TeamSpeak. It feels so quaint these days. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 British summertime and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Psychit, thanks to Shan, and thanks to Ben, and special thanks to today's tech specialist, Commander Ventura. So until next time, Commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this?
Sounds like someone having an orange inserted into You need a safe word.
Space can be done.
I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Galnet News Digest, 11th of May 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news,
The Shutdown Field Simulator.
Vote Man, the exciting choice.
Nova Imperium trudges home.
Commanders who earned the Kill Warrant Scanner Award by helping President Hudson clamp down on the civil liberties of federal citizens have discovered that their shiny new module has a secondary use. This miraculous Kill Warrant scanner is able to scan a ship at a range of 6.6 kilometres in just 2 seconds. This makes it the king of Kill Warrant scanners. Like many such modules, it has a resale value of 0, which means it costs nothing to rebuy if your ship gets destroyed, and it costs no more than 100 credits to transfer between stations. But its special party trick, when you've just encountered a party of hostile pirates whom you might just about be able to take on single-handed, is to shut off your ship's power. Deploy this module at your peril. The 4.8 megawatts this 1.3 ton module consumes not only makes it glow cherry red, it ensures that none of your core modules will be functional due to a lack of available power. If you're one of the unlucky ones and you've never experienced the terror of a Thargoid shutdown field, try fitting this module to your ship and you too can see what it's like to have all your modules go offline simultaneously. even if you manage to get your power management sorted out just right, so you can run this module and still have the rest of the ship functioning. There's still a frisson of excitement to be had, knowing that turning on your zero-G defying space coffee machine will tip your power plant over the edge and cause your life support to malfunction. Trying to use your space electric toothbrush means your thrusters go offline. Getting your hands on this module was totally worth being complicit in the creation of a federal police state, wasn't it? Helping to create a police state in which every communication, every word, every thought of every federal citizen will be available for President Hudson and his cronies to read, in return for your very own shutdown field simulator.
With the Alliance Prime Ministerial elections rescheduled for the 27th of May, what will the election mean for the Alliance and for the galaxy? While not exactly perfect, the Alliance model has quite a bit going for it. Each star system within the Alliance is self-governing, allowing a high degree of local autonomy. That sounds great for democracy, but it isn't really. At least some of the Alliance's member systems are dictatorships and anarchies, where Alliance citizens have little or no say over how they're governed. Regardless of local politics, each system, depending on its population, sends at least one representative, known as councillors, to the Alliance Assembly, where common policies and treaties with other powers are agreed. Unusually, the Assembly does not have the power to create laws. Laws are a matter for individual star systems. However, the Assembly can vote to impose sanctions or take other corrective measures against member systems whose laws are incompatible with Alliance policy. The Prime Minister is elected by councillors in a form of semi-representative democracy, consensus politics and behind-the-scenes machinations in what, given the Alliance's love of hallucinogens, are almost certainly smoke-filled rooms. Being the Prime Minister is a thankless task of non-stop brokerage and mediation, and no Prime Minister has ever been popular enough to be elected for a second six-year term. Most of them don't even make it to the end of their first term. And the reality is that a fair bit of the Alliance's decision-making is the work of unelected civil servants. On top of all of that, the Alliance military is almost entirely autonomous from the Assembly. The 6 fleets, made up of ships owned and run by Alliance member systems, are commanded by an admiral, and the 6 admirals, known as the Council of Admirals, are effectively in charge of Alliance security and a fairly large chunk of its foreign policy. There was for a time a constitutional figurehead alongside the Prime Minister. The President managed diplomatic relations with the other superpowers and non-alliance independent systems and bridged the constitutional gap between Assembly and the Council of Admirals. The role was abolished in 3305 after President Gibson Kincaid, with the help of Admiral Yamamoto of the Council of Admirals, attempted to become the effective supreme leader of the Alliance by having executive powers transferred to the President. Edmund Mahon, by delaying the Prime Ministerial election by 3 months, has made himself the longest-serving Prime Minister ever. The delay was immensely unpopular, and Mahon seems likely to be defeated by Councillor Nakato Kane, someone who wants to concentrate on Alliance core values and who has no ambitions to expand the Alliance into meta-alloy-rich territory. Mahon tried and failed to get the Serious Defence Cooperation Treaty accepted by the other superpowers. Had this been accepted, humanity might have had a unified approach to Thargoid. Galnet News Digest, 11th of May 3307. We read the news so you don't have to.
In this week's news,
the Shutdown Field Simulator.
Vote Mahon, the exciting choice.
Nova Imperium trudges home.
Commanders who earned the Kill Warrant Scanner Award by helping President Hudson clamp down on the civil liberties of federal citizens have discovered that their shiny new module has a secondary use. This miraculous kill warrant scanner is able to scan a ship at a range of 6.6 kilometres in just 2 seconds. This makes it the king of kill warrant scanners. Like many such modules, it has a resale value of 0, which means it costs nothing to rebuy if your ship gets destroyed, and it costs no more than 100 credits to transfer between stations. But its special party trick, when you've just encountered a party of hostile pirates whom you might just about be able to take on single-handed, is to shut off your ship's power. Deploy this module at your peril. The 4.8 megawatts this 1.3 ton module consumes not only makes it glow cherry red, it ensures that none of your core modules will be functional due to a lack of available power. If you're one of the unlucky ones and you've never experienced the terror of a Thargoid shutdown field, try fitting this module to your ship and you too can see what it's like to have all your modules go offline simultaneously. Even if you manage to get your power management sorted out just right, so you can run this module and still have the rest of the ship functioning, there's still a frisson of excitement to be had, knowing that turning on your zero-G defying space coffee machine will tip your power plant over the edge and cause your life support to malfunction. Trying to use your space electric toothbrush means your thrusters go offline. Getting your hands on this module was totally worth being complicit in the creation of a federal police state, wasn't it? Helping to create a police state in which every communication, every word, every thought of every federal citizen will be available for President Hudson and his cronies to read, in return for your very own shutdown field simulator.
With the Alliance Prime Ministerial elections rescheduled for the 27th of May, what will the election mean for the Alliance and for the Galaxy? While not exactly perfect, the Alliance model has quite a bit going for it. Each star system within the Alliance is self-governing, allowing a high degree of local autonomy. That sounds great for democracy, but it isn't really. At least some of the Alliance's member systems are dictatorships and anarchies, where Alliance citizens have little or no say over how they're governed. Regardless of local politics, each system, depending on its population, sends at least one representative, known as councillors, to the Alliance Assembly, where common policies and treaties with other powers are agreed. Unusually, the Assembly does not have the power to create laws. Laws are a matter for individual star systems. However, the Assembly can vote to impose sanctions or take other corrective measures against member systems whose laws are incompatible with Alliance policy. The Prime Minister is elected by councillors in a form of semi-representative democracy, consensus politics and behind-the-scenes machinations in what, given the Alliance's love of hallucinogens, are almost certainly smoke-filled rooms. Being the Prime Minister is a thankless task of non-stop brokerage and mediation, and no Prime Minister has ever been popular enough to be elected for a second 6-year term. Most of them don't even make it to the end of their first term. And the reality is that a fair bit of the Alliance's decision-making is the work of unelected civil servants. On top of all of that, the Alliance military is almost entirely autonomous from the Assembly. The 6 fleets, made up of ships owned and run by Alliance member systems, are commanded by an admiral, and the 6 admirals, known as the Council of Admirals, are effectively in charge of Alliance security and a fairly large chunk of its foreign policy. There was for a time a constitutional figurehead alongside the Prime Minister. The President managed diplomatic relations with the other superpowers and non-Alliance independent systems and bridged the constitutional gap between Assembly and the Council of Admirals. The role was abolished in 3305 after President Gibson Kincaid, with the help of Admiral Yamamoto of the Council of Admirals, attempted to become the effective supreme leader of the Alliance by having executive powers transferred to the President. Edmund Mahon, by delaying the Prime Ministerial election by 3 months, has made himself the longest-serving Prime Minister ever. The delay was immensely unpopular, and Mahon seems likely to be defeated by Councillor Nakato Kane, someone who wants to concentrate on Alliance core values and who has no ambitions to expand the Alliance into meta-alloy-rich territory. MAN tried and failed to get the Serious Defence Cooperation Treaty accepted by the other superpowers. Had this been accepted, humanity might have had a unified approach to Thargoid incursions. Kane has no interest in such matters and is seeking to improve living standards, improve the economies, and create new trade routes that will benefit the Alliance core systems. Kane stands for all that is right in politics. She seeks to improve the lot of Alliance citizens and be a good neighbour for the other superpowers, independent systems and alien life forms. MAN, often thought of as being beige and boring, is the candidate who will expand into Thargoid territory, steal their meta-allies and fight them off. MAN is the candidate who will keep the Alliance relatively interesting.
Isolationist Imperial faction Nova Imperium is making slow progress in its attempt to ward off an apparently unjustified attack by federal faction the League of Mandu. The attack, which started on Thursday last week, is in response to allegations that Nova Imperium leader Imperator Hadrian Duval is behind militant Republican movement, the Neo-Marlinist Liberation Army, which is responsible for caustic enzyme attacks on 6 Imperial, 4 Federal, 2 Alliance and 1 independent starport, and for the murder of Prince Hadrian Duval and a number of other Imperial dignitaries, as well as, apparently, making an attempt on Hadrian's own life. The allegations are as yet just that. There has not been any corroboration of the claims, much less a believable explanation why someone who has worked hard to be recognised as a Duval, and who wants to become emperor, would mastermind a Republican group that assassinates Duvals and which wants to abolish the role of emperor entirely. A suggestion has been made that Hadrian is simply trying to remove those Duvals who are closer in line to the throne than he is. However, Hadrian was already far more likely to become the next emperor than Mad Prince Harold, and besides, that doesn't explain all those bombed starports. Despite the lack of evidence, the League of Mandu attacked Nova Imperium. And right now they're probably wishing they hadn't. In a terrible war of attrition, Nova Imperium has barely hit 20% of the target it needs to win decisively. The progress it's making may be partly down to the sterling efforts of Nova Navy. But if it's slow going for Nova Imperium, the League of Mandu is achieving far less, and is suffering catastrophic levels of ship loss. It took Nova Imperium 4 full days to hit the bottom rung of the ladder. That means that those who helped will get a small payout. It looks unlikely that the League of Mandu will get to that rung at all. Nova Imperium will win this war. But with hostile Imperial faction, the Periesi Empire Consulate standing by, there may be more troubles ahead for the embattled Imperator.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News. We read the news so you don't have to.
See the dust on my feet, feel the weight on my bones, hear my breath in my head, I am free for the first time. Touchdown, my eyes are believing. See my friends on the ground, hear the steps, hear the sounds, watch them fly to the hills, we are free for the first time. Let's start this odyssey, brave steps in front of me, my eyes so wide to see this future. Let's make this odyssey, frontiers for us to see, vistas so wide, this is the future. Embrace the future on this odyssey. is bubbling. Watch them run, watch them fire, have a drink, start a fire, come a ship, see the size. For the first time, touchdown, we are greeting. See the look in their eyes on the highway, surprise of a fight for their lives. Yeah, we are meeting. Let's start this odyssey. Brave steps in front of me. My eyes so wide to see this future. Let's make this odyssey. Frontiers for us to see. Vistas so wide, this is the future. Embrace the future. Bullets fall like burning chaff. The celebration turns to violence. Laser fire makes shields go blue. Explosions fill my ringing ears. Humanity has come to stay. With all our faults, fears and anger. Joy is in this wondrous fire. Oh, let me slip away. Let's start this odyssey. Brave steps in front of me. My eyes so wide to see this future. Let's make this odyssey. Frontiers for us to see. Vistas so wide, this is the future. Embrace the future.
Night on.